Hello and welcome to another episode of Life with Ahdeya, which is part of course, Life and Style. On this episode of the program, I'd like to shed light on a very different issue. Brave Combat Federation is the fastest growing mixed martial arts promotion worldwide, having been hosted in more countries than any other organization in the industry. It has organized 91 events in 35 countries, featuring over 800 athletes from 91 countries across the globe. Founded in the Kingdom of Bahrain, the vision of Brave CF is to transform mixed martial arts from an event business into a sports ecosystem, bringing synergies of sports, digital media, business, cultural relations, technology, MMA fighters with the opportunity to showcase their talents on a continuously evolving global platform. Since its inception in 2016, the leadership of His Highness Sheikh Khalid bin Hamad Al Khalifa, Brave Combat Federation, has secured strategic relations and recognition from governments, promotions, businesses, and organizations to enhance the status of the sport and its athletes. This initiative has opened doors to expansion in digital sports media in the GCC, including Brave CFTV, the homegrown video on demand streaming service, and production company that enables the sport to reach its fans globally. On this episode of the program, I want to talk to someone I have personally been very curious about learning more about. There are people in our society that we see as youth icons, but we know very little about them. We see them in newspapers, we see them on television, they speak about the sports that they love, they speak about issues that they are related to, but there is another side of these personalities we know very little about. And on this episode of our program, I would like to speak to the president of Brave Combat Federation, Mohammad Shahid, who stands at the forefront of a revolutionary movement in mixed martial arts, tirelessly carrying the vision of His Highness Sheikh Khalid bin Hamad Al Khalifa to the youth of Bahrain and the sport as a whole. Since Brave's CF's foundation in 2016, my guest has transformed the organization into a global powerhouse, redefining the landscape of international MMA. I'm very happy here on this episode of Life with Ahdeya to host you, Mr. Shahid.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. It's been years that we have had an interview, and I'm very curious about a lot of things that have been happening in your life.
Yes, definitely. I think the interview we had was even before Brave Combat Federation was actually started. And I think that was a time when KHK as an initiative was just starting. And we always say that those were the times that was setting the seeds towards what we are achieving today. And one thing for sure you will hear is the same vision when we started. God knows how many years back did we have that discussion, but you will still hear this vision has never changed. It is still to develop the sport of mixed martial art from an event business to a sports ecosystem, and to give the opportunity for athletes from around the world, and also to give that back to our country in Bahrain.
When you go back in time and you remember that time, did you expect that this is where you will be today? We hear about all these sports activities and events, and I personally never knew that it will shine so much and it will become one of the most popular topics in the sports field that is spoken about by many young people, but also my generation.
Absolutely. I mean, you think about it, we never looked at it the way mixed martial art was supposed to be looked at. We always had mixed martial art around us in our life, but we never realized it. And that was the beauty of the sport of mixed martial art. I mean, in our lives, when we, as young kids were always fascinated by Jackie Chan, Jet Li, Bruce Lee, and Van Damme's. Then there was another group of people who were fascinated by what was happening in WWF, the wrestling side. And then there's a lot of people who were fascinated by Supermans and Batmans and, Spider-Mans. And then there's a group of people who were fascinated by movies where one person beats 100 people. So whatever it was always about a human being becoming the best he could be to be able to share those values to the next generation. And we always wanted to be a Superman in our minds. And every child that is at the age of, I would say, 4, 5, 6, 7, always dreams about being a Superman. Not necessarily Superman itself, it could be a superhero they want to be. And that's what fascinates us. But we never really know how to be there. Some things in our lives always teaches us that you're dreaming too big and come to the real world. And we do come to the real world, but I think that is where martial arts has always been our life, to be the best you can be, mentally, physically, spiritually. And we never knew how to put them all together because it was in the name of karate, taekwondo, kickboxing, Muay Thai, box, in multiple names. So we couldn't really put a finger to how and what is martial arts. How can I get the best out of martial arts? And I think mixed martial arts was the first time that brought all of this together and said, now you can put a finger to it, and it's called MMA.
That's interesting because as a child, I remember, Mr. Shahid, that my father used to watch wrestling. And I used to think that this is a man's thing. But then we would get into the mood with him and we would watch that with him. And it has this adrenaline rush. Let's be
Sure.
honest about it. It has, I think it's the composition of a human being. You like adrenaline rush. But lately in Bahrain, I have to be very honest, you have succeeded big time. And
Thank you.
I feel that's the truth. And I feel that you've embraced every young person interested in sports and you are creating in them the heroes of the future in this sports field. And I always think that sports is a different level of bringing young people together. So I congratulate you for that. And
Thank you very much.
thank
Where I think I always say that we are gifted, that we have a leader and visionary like His Highness Sheikh Khalid bin Hamad Khalifa, and we learned it very early that set a goal, and there's multiple ways to achieve those goals.
yes.
But the direction we want to achieve that goal is by doing what is the right thing. So it's the easiest way, because if you do the right thing, you will never go wrong.
And you are doing the right thing. Honestly, my generation who doesn't understand these things, today when I see events that have gone on international level and bring pride to my country and put Bahrain on the international map, I feel proud of it, even if it's a field that I don't understand anything about. It just brings pride to you that you
Sure.
are there internationally. And I believe that you have achieved a lot on the international level.
Yep.
Maybe you can elaborate on that, Mr. Shah.
Definitely, I think so. When I specifically speak about the achievements of Brave as a organization, we look at it from three different sides. One is what we have proudly achieved for Bahrain as Kingdom of Bahrain, and today we are the largest exported brand from the Kingdom of Bahrain. We have traveled to 35 countries in 5 continents, and at the same time, we're also one of the biggest exposure platforms for the Kingdom of Bahrain because we're broadcasted in 180 countries to over 800 million households on television, and a total reach, digital plus television, to over 1.1 billion. And one of the biggest networks in the world, like DAZN, KHTV, from around the world, are broadcasting Brave Combat Federation as an event, and we are broadcasting live, showcasing what Bahrain is able to achieve. So, in terms of exposure, exported brand, but also job creations, today, Bahraini team is the official team that is managing and operating events for the International Mixed Martial Art Federation, the governing body, or let's make it simple, the FIFA of mixed martial art. So we have seen that with F1 when we saw our marshals being used as the key experts for international events, and that's the same thing that we've seen at mixed martial art as well. And referees, judges, event organizers, media delegations, all have an ecosystem for economy has been built through Brave Combat Federation in collaboration with the National MMA Federation. And last but not least, but always people talk about this as the first and most important thing, is the talent of athletes itself. We're the number one ranked team in the world. I don't think we've ever had this proud moment where in the world global annual ranking by an international federation in any sports, Bahrain is ranked number one, and we have been holding that position for, I think, for 5 years or 6 years now. And that is everything from what we could achieve for Bahrain. And we're still looking towards being part of the diversifying the sports economy into digitalization and technology and everything else that is in the direction with our 2030 vision and the extended vision of 2050. But at the international level, we focus a lot on sports development. I think that is one of the areas that we really pride ourselves for as well, because we have been the official partners for the FIFA of MMA, which is the IMMAF, and we have been partnering with them towards developing their international governing body, helping towards the recognition of mixed martial art by the IOC, and at the same time became an instrumental tool when His Highness Sheikh Khalid hosted the IMMAF World Championships in 2017 in Bahrain. Since then till today, this has become the largest sports development initiative for mixed martial art. And we have hosted the Brave International Combat Week that we're going to see in the next week. It started from Bahrain, but now it has been hosted in Europe and Serbia, moved to Pan America in Colombia, and then in Asia with Pakistan. So this started expanding into every different continent under the International Federation, because it became a part of how government, private sector, and sports can come together. But the final point of the achievement is mixed martial art itself as a sport. What we have achieved in the sport of mixed martial art, we believe that mixed martial art, again, you'll see in our vision, event business to a sports business. People don't understand that. They're like, what do you mean by event business? And I always say that mixed martial art, when you come on December 13, you're enjoying an event, just like any other concert, any other stand-up comedy. You're coming there to be entertained. Fantastic. But I do feel like there is a space to fill in the sport business of MMA, where you want to create a football structure, a FIFA structure in mixed martial art. While it is a fantastic entertainment event, we want to bring the sports element and create an ecosystem. So we have been working towards that for the past 8 years. So from the development side, mixed martial art as a sport and national development, that's three different achievements in 8 years' time.
And you took Bahrain on the international map. Any effort exerted into raising the name of our country is worth respect, and I respect you for that and respect the organization and the team working with you on making this success. And special thanks goes to His Highness Sheikh Khalid for the great work that he has exerted. We as Bahrainis are all very proud of how he's dedicated to this and to our beloved country, everyone's beloved country. Now I want to go somewhere completely different. Look, I wanted to go to Muhammad, the child. Muhammad, the child who started a school life in the Indian school.
Yes.
The school itself that I once had an interview with the Minister of Education. And when I asked him, and I'm sure the Indian school will be very happy to hear that, when I asked him, what's the best school in Bahrain? He said the Indian school is the best. And you started your childhood in the Indian school. Take me back in time to Muhammad the child, because I want to go from Muhammad the child to the MMA fighter. I want to go to these details. I want to know what happened, what made you want to become who you have become. Childhood.
Definitely. I think I always say that we are blessed to be here in Bahrain. I think um, when you think deeply about it, and for me, I've always thought about this question: how did it reach here? How did I get here? There must be multiple factors that led to me, and it can't be all me. There is so much factors around you in your surroundings that has allowed you to think differently. And for me, whichever young generation, I used to coach a lot of students, and I always say that for me, when I was really young, there was this Bahraini dream in my mind. And I think that a lot of Bahraini, whether they're expats living in Bahrain or Bahrainis themselves, all of us together, we have this Bahraini dream as we grow in, because we are surrounded by multiple cultures and stories of how people have looked for opportunity and achieved a lot. And yes, you have the American dream, but mine was a Bahraini dream. And it was something for me much more bigger, because the opportunity to achieve what you want to achieve, what didn't even exist most of the economies that I've traveled to around the world in sports, if the sports does not exist, it is almost impossible for you to develop in that sport. But here in Bahrain, we are known for our innovation. Whether you think about the first country in the region to bring F1, Ironman, first team to go to Tour de France, you can go on and on and on about how we have become first and innovative. And that innovative mentality has trickled down to all of us. And me as a child, we never thought that, oh, it doesn't exist here, so it cannot happen. That never crossed our mind. It didn't exist here. The first thing that thought is, there's an opportunity. We can build something. And you never lost hope from that sense. So I think that was a very strong part for me, which was a backbone for me, because the reality is it didn't exist. So you did have to put in the work to achieve that, and that work was where usually the stress and the fear comes in, because you don't have someone to look up to. You don't have someone who has achieved that already. So me being in school, I loved martial arts all my life, and like I said, from Jackie Chan's and Jet Li's, we get inspired.
Do you have fights in school with that?
Absolutely.
I'm just imagining that people in martial arts have fights, and that's a good practice for them.
Oh yeah, I think when you're not in martial arts, you fight more. I really stopped fighting when I started training MMA seriously, because we always say that, like it's you tend to bring this in life. When you mature, you understand so much more, and then you look at a child speaking something and you're like, it's okay, he's a child, that's, he doesn't know much, and that's the mentality you get when you train MMA so much, that you reach to a point where you look at people who wants to fight and people who wants to do for fun, or even
Yeah.
seriously as a gang fight. But either ways, you look at them and you always realize that subject of fighting, because you're the only one who studied that. I didn't learn subject of fighting in school. Nobody taught me the subject called fighting. I learned the subject of fighting through mixed martial arts and my training.
But it builds confidence, doesn't it?
It is everything in my life. What I am today, what I've trained, as a business, discussions, meeting, conversations, understanding, negotiations, everything comes from fighting, because there is nothing where two humans that can get two people closer than each other. Is only two things. And I always say is that one, I think that, as they say, the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. Shortest distance between two humans is a story. And the easiest way for people to understand that story is to fight each other. So it's much more elaborated than that. But when we go into a cage and we have that 15 minutes with an opponent, people don't realize how much a relationship we built.
But there is respect, by the way.
Absolutely.
Even people who don't understand the sports, we do see the respect.
Absolutely.
You respect your opponents. It is a sport where
You have to, because the first lesson of learning how to be physically the strongest human being in this world, you're keeping that as your goal. The strongest human being. When I use the word strongest, it's not carrying the heaviest thing. It does not mean strong. Strongest human being is the highest level you as a human being can be. When that becomes your goal, the first education you need to understand is, how do you deal with your little problems? And what's your little problems? Those emotions that control you. And you need to understand those emotions. They're not against you, but you need to understand those. So when you fight with someone, when you're going to a competition, and any competition, by the way, and I just feel like MMA is the toughest of all the competitions, but any sports competition is the best way to develop yourself and build a self-awareness. And the first thing is to be able to learn you. If I'm going to compete with you, to understand your mindset, to play with your mindset, to make sure that I can outfight you or outrace you or outplay you. First, I need to know myself. What am I capable of doing? How much will I get influenced by you? And if I don't know myself, I cannot take that next step. And I think that is the first lesson we learn through martial arts training, is how do you understand your emotions? And then you will realize that boy or girl who has learned martial arts at the competition level is very different of a human being, because it's not just respect, it's understanding your feelings. You have understood your emotions really well, and knowing your emotions helps you to understand somebody else better.
how was your life as a teenager?
I think it was I think any teenage life, you're filled with dreams, and you want to achieve so much. And for me, I think at a very young age, I got, and I always say that, like, I was influenced by martial arts movies, but I never knew it could be a career. I never knew this a career. I thought it was just another thing to learn, to face problems and then solve it by fighting, like the movies what Jackie Chan and Jet Li does. I've never seen them compete. They're always doing something, saving someone. So I thought that was the only purpose. I had a coach in Bahrain who was teaching me taekwondo, and I don't know why, but one class I think 12 or 13, and in the class he asked, "Who would like to make this your career?" I just raised my hand, and I never knew you could make this a career. And then he said, "Oh, okay, good to know." I was the only one who raised the hand, but he said, "That's good to know." He never spoke about it afterwards. There was no reason for it. He didn't do anything about it. But I think that was almost like a destiny that happened. I don't know why it happened, but that was a switch in my head where I knew that I should look into it. So dedicated most of my life learning and training. So you had to train, you had to learn how to train because you didn't have coaches who knew the sport. So thankfully, there was a rise of internet. So we did get a lot of information and contents that teaches you how to train different martial arts, and I use that as much as I can. And that is when I decided um, during my teenage time that I don't have time to do all the job of a manager, of a coach, of a fighter, of everything. All together. One person has to do it for himself, and I knew I didn't have the time, so I had to cut out everything else in my life and make sure that I put my back against the wall and there's no escape other than becoming something in this field. And that's where I dropped out of school. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody today, but I did put my back on the wall and made sure that every hour that I have, it's either eat healthy, sleep for recovery, learn, and practice.
You dropped out of school, but let me be honest with you about something. When we had our talk before we start the recording, you confirmed something that school education does not necessarily mean culture, because we spoke about history, we spoke about sports diplomacy, we spoke about issues that many people think only people who have studied them know them. Being cultured has nothing to do with being
True.
completing school education, as long as you have the basis and then life teaches you. And I think, Stashad, life teaches you a lot
Absolutely.
more than what you learn in schools. Again, we're not advising to drop out, but when you have the brains for something, you pursue your dream. How many people have had the courage to do it, pursue their dreams, and succeed? Only the strong.
True.
So well done.
Thank
Well
you.
done.
Thank you.
Well done. Now I want to go to a few things before we go to things related to life, to style. Life, I want to go back to the restaurant your father had.
Oh, yes.
I want to know more about Hamad, the child who went to that restaurant, because I feel that you're nostalgic about that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
Tell me about it.
it's something we learned very young, and I always give my credit to my father for that, where he was having his restaurant, and the restaurant still is there in Central Market, opposite to Ramesh. You'll see a little tent hut kind of restaurants. Yeah, so he had this restaurant, and we used to see the work rate of an individual who used to wake up every day from 2 3 a.m. when Central Market opens. So he has to be there before that, and and he comes home for lunchtime, or he comes home around 9 and we're not there, we're in school, and then we're back, and then he's there for an hour or two to sleep because that's a recovery because he had to go back again. And
Yeah.
that was a repetition that we've seen him do since I was born till he passed away. So it was always every single day I kept seeing this, and for me I was like, people look at me and they're like, how do you succeed? And I'm like, if you can have the right intention and you keep repeating that, whatever the intention is, the practice of that, you keep repeating and the repetition. Yes, we've heard that in martial arts that you would rather, it's better to have known one kick that you've practiced it 10,000 times better than 10,000 kicks that you've practiced only once. So that's a saying that goes from Bruce Lee's time, but that is something that we've seen in many other philosophers who speak about how to get better at yourself is repetition. And that repetition and consistency to that repetition needs a thing called discipline. And I learned all of that by just watching my father do that. So we always was as kids we were like, we want to go and live a little bit of that life. So we used to go to that restaurant and sit there and meet people from different cultures, and that's something we were talking about, that we talk to all kinds of culture in Bahrain, that we learn and we built our own languages as well. But it was an experience for me to understand what he believed his dream was and what he wanted to give to his children. And that's something that I always believe, that when he tells me his story, it was much more different how he landed in Bahrain, Babel, Bahrain, and he had $1 in his hand and went next to Last Chance. I don't know if you remember, there was Last Chance at that site near the church area. And he used to sit under the tree there, and then found a way because he had only $1. So all that stories of him reaching there and starting the restaurant, and he didn't have a father, so his father passed away before he was born. So we always learned to call grandfather was his sponsor, and we learned at a very young age that relationship that we have here in Bahrain. Although we loved going on Eids to get the Eid from him, and that was the only Eid we used to get. But he used to look at us as his grandchildren too. But he was the sponsor for my father, and since then he looked after my father like a son. And it's those are the things that you I didn't learn from anywhere, but from what I see. Absolutely, and it's and yeah, you 35 countries in 5 continents, and you still feel Bahrain is the only home, and I can't live anywhere else. And because this is the lessons that you learned as you grow up. That's what I learned from my father, and what I learned from Bahrain. It's something that we would never get anywhere else. And I think I would not give that up for any other lessons in the world today.
May God rest his beautiful soul in peace. If he was here, he would have been proud of you. And it's fathers like that who raise children like this. That's a reality. When you're alone and you think of what you have achieved in life, who do you feel has helped you or has been there for you on the personal level and on the professional level?
I think that a lot of people have been involved at some level. And I think, like I said, it started from learning, and having this opportunity to be here in Bahrain. I don't think I would have achieved this if I was in any other country. So a lot of that credit goes to my parents for being here and taking that, taking care of. We're 5 siblings, and a lot of people that comes to Bahrain at those early days did leave family back home, and they used to make money and leave the family back home. But my parents were different. They thought that they all have to live here, and this is where our future is going to be. And they looked at Bahrain as their home. So it was different. So I always give credit for making sure that we were here in Bahrain, we were born in Bahrain, we were living our life, and we were Bahrainis. I think that was a priceless gift that we got as we are growing up. But at the same time, as we are growing up, the coach, the taekwondo coach that asked me that question, was very important factor in my life, and I'll never forget that. And although he was also one of the building blocks for teaching me that there is something more than one martial arts, and there were so many martial arts around it. And I do give a lot of credit to my older brother, Mohammed Shahid. I mean, he was uh, a very important in life when a lot of people, you reach a stage and you drop out of school and you decide that I'm going to do something. And then everybody's like, he messed up.
Really?
He just messed up. That's that point that you had to pull him back quickly before he goes to the wrong direction. And there was my brother who stood with me all that time. The times that I went to Thailand, and we didn't have money to travel to Thailand, so he had to find some way to make sure that he collects all his savings and the little job salaries he used to get to put together to send me to Thailand. And we used to buy Nutella and protein shake to last for longer, rather than buying food every day because you can't afford it, and lived for a long almost like 3 months with what we had. So my brother was here all the time, just keeping me motivated, helping me until today. Until today, it doesn't matter where I reach. He always looks at me as we go and we have food, and he's like, I'm going to be the one who's paying. Till now, when it's Eid, he gives me my Eid in my hand. So he's still the brother that always looks at me and looks after me, and has my back. So
Yeah.
I owe a lot to him for what I am and what I became growing up. But I think in that sense, and as the stages go by, when I started my gym, because I didn't know how to earn money and make a living, so I learned the business of mixed martial art while I was training and fighting and competing. And a lot at the time I started gym, it was one thing that I always feel blessed that I had a Bahraini boy who came to my gym as my student, Hamza Kohiji, and that was I give him a lot of credit for believing in me and believing that we could do something together. And I think all of these little things of the jigsaw puzzle had to come together. And I think I cannot point one is more important than the other. I think all of them, if one was not existing, it wouldn't happen, And ultimately, all this time, it was about me. I wanted to be the best. I wanted to be the greatest. I want to achieve the best until I met His Highness Sheikh Khalid. And that was the day my life changed, where he made me realize that I factor is no more. It's about everybody else. How can we give and create something that is for the 2 million around the world? And it was more exciting for me than anything I would achieve for myself. And that achievement is still selfish to make sure that I want to be part of giving to everybody else. That mentality change was the first time I spoke to His Highness. So everything in my life I owe to these people, and without them, I wouldn't be where I am.
That's so sweet. When you recognize and appreciate people that have had an impact in your life, it reflects the genuine feelings that you have.
True.
And we are people who appreciate, but there are many people who do not admit recognition of their growth and success for anyone around them. But you did speak about your brother. And when you spoke about your brother, you know what I saw? That every human being wants to be taken care of in a way or another by someone that is an older figure or something like that. And I'm sure your brother will feel happy to hear what he heard today. Now I want to go to simple, nice, fun questions. We took life seriously. Now let's go. Life is about lessons. You have learned a lot, but life is also about fun. Life is also about looking great. So let's go now to that aspect since our beautiful magazine is called Life and Style. The life part, I took care of it because I was really interested to see this side of you, but the style part of the show also will tell me a few things about you. Some questions, let's see if we'll have fun with
Right.
them actually.
Absolutely.
Can you balance between professional attire and personal style?
I could not anymore. It's only professional now.
Exactly. Next, who inspires your sense of fashion? Any guy, any icons, trends you follow?
I think it's always been the 1930s.
Why?
I always love the three-piece suit and the tie pins, and I always love that way of putting on suits of the 30s, 40s. Oh, I think all the way from 30s to somewhere early 60s. I always loved that. It
That
was
was
different.
elegant.
I wouldn't. I don't. I somehow can't accept the fashion of how suits are today, and some things are always classic, and I love the classic part of dressing and fashion.
Maybe you have an old soul too. Many of
I
us
think
do.
so. I think so. I always say that I think I'm way older as a soul, and I do have a lot of friends who are older than me because their souls are much younger.
And you grew up quickly.
Yeah.
And you grew up quickly. So that's probably why. I personally like the 70s and 60s. I wish time would go back and fashion would go back to the 60s and 70s. Combat sports and fashion aren't often linked. Do you see a connection between the two worlds?
Well, absolutely. I think when you look at the athletes like Conor McGregor, Ilya Topuria, some of those icons of fashion today of what dressings are, I think because combat sports is one place, and fashion, sometimes you wear the right brands to make sure that you can identify as something. And then there are a few group of people like the MMA athletes who the fashion wears. And it's different because the moment you bring any brand to these individuals, it becomes cool. And MMA fighters, when you look at them, they are the fittest athletes, the toughest athletes, and you have everything that you admire in a man and a woman as achievement wise. So if they wear a cloth, that becomes fashion. So I think if any fashion brand is looking to promote themselves, they have to work with MMA athletes. And I think it goes to any
Have
athlete,
you ever
many
considered?
sports. Sorry.
Have you ever considered?
Absolutely.
Would you ever consider?
Yeah, Brave Athleisure is going to go into the leisure side of merchandising, and we are seeing the fashion side enter sports heavily. I don't know if you follow the football world, soccer slash football.
Yeah.
We're seeing AC Milan and many other Barcelona, many other teams. It's not only about their jerseys anymore. They're collaborating with concerts. They're collaborating with the rock star bands to start creating fashion through sports, because in the end of the day, that's where the attention of the young generation is, and it's just somehow cooler when athletes wear it. And if you do that for a mixed martial art athlete, fashion and mixed martial art will always go in hand in hand.
What is non negotiable when it comes to your daily routine? Non negotiable, something that you have to do every day.
Ah,
No one can stop it. It has to be something that no one can stop.
oh,
Uh,
I think the most boring thing, going to work. I think that's something that working is all my life. I think that that's one thing that I wake up in the morning and always think about is getting to that office. You know, it's the most boring thing that in your life, the people look at you and say, is that the most important thing for you in life to do every day, single day? I cannot stay a day without going to the office. But apart from the work side, it has to be coffee.
Do you go on any diets?
No, I don't. I've done dieting for almost 15 years, every single day in the most disciplined fashion ever. But now, no, but I do, not because of dieting, but I don't usually eat throughout the day. I have one meal a day. That's my daily life, because
What do you eat?
one meal, the one meal. Good question. I really don't care. I think if it is a good PF Chang's or the dynamite shrimp from PF
I
Chang's.
just got a pre commercial now on our program.
Oh, well, it is.
It's
It
good
is.
dish,
It's worth trying. Yeah.
Chinese is good anyway, yes. After a long day, how do you end your day just to relax?
Oh, podcasts. You know, I love listening to podcasts,
So,
and it's the most relaxing thing for me. I'm used to not being able to fall asleep without noise. I need noise, and so podcasts are always the best way. So when my day ends, I listen to as any podcast that's out there.
any singers? Do you listen to music?
No, I do listen to music, but not because I want to. If it is there around, I do listen to it. I don't.
We don't have a choice.
Yeah, I do listen to it, but then we are one of those again, because I think it could be just me, but being born in Bahrain, we end up listening to every single song from multiple different languages, so we didn't really have a trend going on in a country. So if you look at US and other countries, they have their kind of music. As the country goes, they go. Since we are multicultural so much, we've had musics from Bollywood, from Bahraini singers to Miami
Yeah.
and English, Backstreet, but everything that could come in, we were absorbing all the information. So we grew up to become not specifically interested in one genre of music or movies, and we would like anything that is good. So we learned to identify quality over following the trend.
Okay. Now for the rapid fire question.
Okay.
You just have a few seconds to answer. The first answer is the shot that comes across you.
Okay.
The first one. Sneakers or dress shoes?
Snickers or what?
Or dress shoes?
I have no idea what that is. I'll go with Snickers.
I think it's sneakers because it's more relaxing. Dress shoes is probably the formal ones.
Okay.
Black tie or casual chic?
Black tie.
One grooming product you can't live without.
Wax.
Favorite designer or brand?
Oh. Tailor made in Watermall.
See? Because you have your own style. There you
Yes.
go. It doesn't have to be a name of a brand. I actually like the answer. A wardrobe item you've had forever and still love. You're not ready to throw that. I have that in my wardrobe.
Yeah.
No, I will not.
No, yeah, true. I have my type in, which has become really, really, really old. And I don't know if it's out of fashion or anything, but that was my first type in, by the way. And I loved the type ins when I wear a tie. I don't wear a tie without a type in nowadays. But that my first type in was something that I always have with me, because I think I put a lot of thought into it.
Really. First thing you notice in someone else's outfits.
Hmm. Oh, that was a tough one. Yeah. I think it's the if it is a suit, I would always look at cufflinks to see how serious he is about coming to the meeting, and if he was, how much he wanted to prepare for the meeting is
Not
when
much effort, yes, but
put to for this meeting. So I always notice the cufflinks, and if there's no cufflinks, he's relaxed. If it's cufflinks, he's put so much effort.
yeah.
Just judgmental side of me.
Yeah, but that's life. You see the details because in some fields where you work, you look at details that no one else looks at. Favorite shopping destination? Do you have time for that?
No, I don't. I usually shop if I'm traveling for an event. I do try to make sure that if I find some time to go shopping at the duty free, that's the best thing.
That's a lot of time before take.
Exactly.
Suits, classic or bold patterns?
Classic.
Definitely, I can see that, yes. Streetwear or luxury fashion?
Oh, I think streetwear is the future of fashion now.
Yeah, simple,
Yeah,
simple. Morning workout or evening workout?
morning and evening.
Okay. If you could swap wardrobes with anyone for a day, who would it be?
Thomas Shelby.
Oh no. Oh no. Peaky Blinders.
Yeah,
Oh no. That's a classic. Yeah. I love this character. And
it's
if I
fantastic.
Peaky Blinders, if you keep on watching it, you'll never have enough, right?
I'm so sad that it's ended. I'm waiting for the movie now.
There is a movie.
I heard that they're putting on a movie together.
You should follow an Instagram account that's called The Peak Success. It has all the quotes of Thomas Shelby. You will love it. You will love. I love the character. I love
Yeah.
the way he everything. So I really love that answer because it was so quick. So it means that he really inspires you. What's your go-to accessory?
Oh, clothes. I in clothes accessories. Go to accessory. A watch maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds fine. Yeah. Favorite color to wear?
Oh, but it's supposed to be black and pink.
Black is the royal color.
Yeah.
There you go. You are in pink too.
I am.
Nice combination. Fitness, gym or outdoor activities?
Outdoor activities. Yeah.
Style tip you swear by. Peaky Blinders. I'm giving you
Yeah.
answers.
I think we should go with we should go with Peaky Blinders.
One advice you would give someone to merge style with your professional and personal identity.
Oh, can you repeat that question?
One piece of advice you would give someone who is looking to merge style with your professional and personal identity. With it his simplicity or what is it?
Oh no, I'm to go all the way. You know, I mean, you don't have to be. You know, you could go all the way. You don't have to be simple, but as long as you know who you are, I think the fashion has to blend with that. I wouldn't try to have a skinny jeans anymore.
Who does that?
I hope nobody. I hope no one. But yeah, if you know what character you wanna you are every single day,
Yeah.
I think believe in that and bring the wear the fashion that's connecting with that. But it doesn't have to be you. Think about what you want to become. Go ahead, dream.
Finally, what does life mean to you? What has it given to you? What has it, God forbidden, taken from you?
Life for me, I think, is being the best you can be and learning about yourself every single day, but for what purpose? So you should always answer that as a effect towards so the best you can be so that you can serve the people, serve anybody else that's in need, but at the same time reform and do things better. If you can bring a positive change, that's what it's all about. But the final point, never forget about life, is to not go away from this world without being able to pass that on to somebody else and educate someone else on how you have done it, because that is evolution and those information has to go. Learn about yourself, help people with it, pass it on. These two things are very important.
I like that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. And this was such a beautiful interview. I told you in the beginning, I know little about sports, but I like to learn about people because every person has a story. And when you're open to learn things in life, you learn from everyone around you. By one question you ask, you learn so much. And I learned a lot today about you. And I hope that the messages you shared with us gets conveyed to young people who look up at you, the young people who believe in themselves and know that success can be achieved whenever you want to achieve it.
Thank you very much. It was a great interview. Loved it.
I know the too. Thank you very
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to remind our viewers that on this episode of Life with Ahdeya, my guest was the president of Brave Combat Federation, Mr. Mohammad Shahid. As I said at the beginning of this episode, I'm always interested in learning more about the other side of the person that we see in newspapers, on television. I want to know about them, go deep into their lives, see how they have lived. And on this episode, we went in depth with Mr. Shahid about his childhood, about people he looks up to, up at. I personally, uh, one of the elements of this interview is you see how human beings, wherever they are in life, they appreciate people who have had an impact. And we spoke about how His Highness Sheikh Khalid impacted Mr. Shahid's life on the professional level, but in his eyes, I saw appreciation to his father, may God rest his soul in peace, and to his brother, who still remains to be his older brother today. We spoke about fashion, we spoke about fun things, but more than anything else, we spoke about how success stories can be created if you have the confidence and the capability to make a difference by making a very bold decision in your life. And that's what we learn on this episode with Life with Ahdeya. Thank you very much, Mr.
For having me.